Living on social services isn't a fun situation when society dictates on whether who works and who doesn't. You can ask 50 people for a job and 50 people deny you for work. You don't have a choice. If you can walk into 50 different places and work at all 50 places and then choose where you work and be paid for all those 50 places, then you have a choice of where you work. And you have a choice to work. But if you ask 50 people for a job and they don't hire you, it's their choice not to hire you. Just like being self-employed. You can put as many business cards and many ads out there. If no one wants to hire you, you won't get hired. People on social services are not freeloaders, nor are people who live on the streets. The definition of freeloaders are friends who travel from friend to friend to friend and sleep on their couches, eat their food, live in their houses, and welcome their stay. That is the definition of a freeloader, not someone on social services who it's their last straw in society before living on the street, which living on the street is considered vagrancy, soliciting, and other such things, and is a crime for the government to not give people social services so they don't have to be vagrants on the street. They are not freeloaders because they're on social services or because they go to soup kitchens. They're soldiers of society that are being discriminated against because of clans of people, gangs who run organizations such as jobs, shops, and so on. Or businesses, or small communities, or even big communities. Or unions, trade works, or even to get into university. Everything is a need to know, and who you know, or how much money you have to buy in society. In 1989, Andrew S. versus the BC government dictated that discrimination is a wage. That's in 1989. Andrew S. versus the BC Supreme Courts. Everything is dictated by other people. No one has a choice to do anything. You ask for something, they either say yes or no. People starve on social services every year. Why? One, they only allow $3.25 or $3.50 for a single person to have a room, and you cannot find too many places out there for $3.25. And a normal person not on disability gets $179 a month for food. That's not much if you really think about it. That's less than that's almost $6,000 a year. And somebody on disability gets a little over $7,000. And the poverty level is $40,000 in Canada in most places. With rising costs of rent and food, gasoline and housing, that doesn't leave many places for somebody on social services to live. So next time you want to put down somebody on social services, you better think about it. That's intent to harm. That's criminal code. Next time you spray something at somebody, that's spraying of a nauseous thing. Next time you tell somebody on social services, here, go here, there's a job there, or here's some bottles in that box, and you spray it. It's called baiting and trapping somebody. It's also another criminal offense. It's called aggravated assault on somebody who's on assistance. They don't have a choice to be on social services. You have a choice to hire them. And you have a choice to give somebody a decent wage without discrimination. And decent hours as well. Because at 1,800 hours a year, at minimum wage of $8 in British Columbia, that's only $14,400. Not even enough to really live on, let alone have a family on. It takes two people in a family, a mother and a father, to work, to supply food and shelter for their children. So if you want to make it any more difficult, for someone on social services, think twice, because you're the one being racial discriminating against those people who are impoverished. And instead of picking on the retarded, the young, and the impoverished people, because you might have a little bit more than them, why don't you grow up and give them a chance in life? And that is my speech for today. And hopefully I think the government should listen to something like this, because they're the criminals who don't look after the people when they create things like police departments, RCMP, Victoria, Vancouver Police Department, Saskatoon, Calgary, Edmonton Police Departments. The government dictates on how people live. And privatization is treason to the people, because that money that they could take from these government systems like BC Hydro, BC Tel, and that they make from it, because people always need to have a phone and they always have to have hydro, can go back in the system for education, more police force, better military, and all kinds of other things. Just the government doesn't want to make any money. They'd rather watch a whole government system fall apart. And they demand too high of wages for administration. Look at all the administration from each provincial House of Commons and our country's House of Commons in Ottawa. I think there's too many people out there making over $200,000 a year. They tell us to live by our means. Well, Gordon Campbell, you say live by your means, and you give yourself, what, $50,000 to $100,000 raise? Or our mayors go from making $25,000 to $30,000 because they need an extra $5,000? Well, a private in the military makes $45,000 a year. So therefore, minimum wage should be $45,000 a year, nothing less. And for us to get in the military, we have to have too much references and too much bullshit when our references sometimes don't want to give good references and just want to play an act. Everyone should have the right to go to basic training and to serve our country because it's our country and it's our native land, just like the song says in O Canada. We all should have the right to be put through basic training, Canadian military, just like everyone else, without discrimination and without even a resume or an application. We should just be able to show up at the doors and go through the procedures and get paid just like everybody else for the training that's processed. That's about all I have to say today. Oh yeah, and freeloaders, there's nothing wrong with it, because there's no such thing as being a freeloader at all. You know what the worst thing in life is? Someone who goes bankrupt. 50, 100, 200, 2 million, or $1 billion. They go bankrupt and push that debt onto the rest of the country, the rest of the banking facilities, by higher interest rates and all kinds of other things. Because they go bankrupt, they push the debt onto us, and we have to pay it. So next time you want to bug somebody about being a freeloader, or because they're ethnically, color, race, or religion, or age, or redheaded, they call them gingers, I guess. You think about people out there who go bankrupt and put us further in debt and make our lives go worse, such as costs of things rising to pay for their debts, housing costs, and everything else, car costs. Because it's ignorant that these people go in debt and make us pay for their debts by higher costs.